From feeling fetishized by the publicity of celeb life to trying to hold on to his heartfelt passion for acting, here's how Cillian Murphy revealed a rise in fame can ruin people. Murphy, the iconic Irishman, who's known for his role as Tommy Shelby in The Peaky Blinders, and in 2023 as J. Robert Oppenheimer in Christopher Nolan's Oppenheimer, has always promoted privacy as his #1 value. Despite consistently bagging huge roles with A-list directors, 6 in total with Christopher Nolan, and cementing himself as a pop culture icon with his role as the cunning gangster, Tommy Shelby, Murphy prefers to be seen as an ordinary guy. In fact, he doesn't want to be seen at all. He has a wife, 2 kids, and some close friends. Currently, Cillian lives in Dublin with his family after moving from London, a place you'd expect a UK celebrity to spend most of their time. Not Cillian, though. Growing up during the Irish Troubles, a time of severe political unrest in Ireland, especially in cities like his native Dublin, Cillian developed a love for his homeland that runs incredibly deep, and it's this love that's contributed so much to his desire for privacy. He found life in London absolutely exhausting. Everywhere he went, he was recognized and usually mobbed by fans who expected him to act exactly like the gunslinger Shelby or the creepy scarecrow. But instead of swaggering villains with an endless supply of one-liners, they usually encountered a reserved man in his 40s, speaking with a distinct Irish accent, usually keen to get away from the crowds as fast as he could. This is part of the reason Cillian says he moved back to Ireland. He claims he felt fetishized by the fame, that it stripped away his humanity in the eyes of his fans, and felt like he had to constantly perform. At one point, life in London became so unbearable for him, he could hardly set foot into a local cafe without causing a scene. That must have sucked for someone who's already quite introverted. Being photographed without his permission was another massive issue. And if you're anything like the borderline antisocial Cillian, these violations of privacy aren't something you can just shake off. He hasn't had any violent paparazzi run-ins just yet, but he's definitely had moments where it's clear he's sick and tired of being in public. Cillian realized quite early in his career that fame had consequences, but since his personality is so different from the characters he's famous for playing, he finds there is a massive divide between Cillian Murphy, the actor, and Cillian Murphy, the human being. For this reason, he stopped taking photos with fans entirely. Instead, he redirects them. Would you like an autograph, a chat, or a high five instead? It's almost like he's asking for humanity. He also felt pressurized to develop a persona, like most celebrities have to in order to survive being in the public eye. But your average persona doesn't have room for passions like Cillian's, who, despite living and working in England for over a decade, has never been able to forgive the English for the atrocities they committed against his people. It makes sense, considering he witnessed a lot of this in real life as a child. He has a fierce love for Ireland and an even fiercer desire to see it change that makes for some surprisingly blunt interview moments, ones that usually end up ruffling quite a few feathers. Like his criticism of the Irish government imposing Catholic education on all people, regardless of their own religious beliefs. Murphy also openly scoffs at the idea of promotion publicity. It's become a bit of a meme to watch Cillian in interviews, making sure by his attitude that he'd rather be anywhere else. He doesn't do interviews very often, but when he does, he's polite, answers all the questions thoughtfully, and has a commanding presence. But man, he looks like he's ready to go home all the time and does not care who knows it. Clearly, he doesn't agree with the idea that a star has to make himself digestible to the public. As a matter of fact, Cillian did not go into acting for publicity at all. He thinks too much of it is as bad for you as being fetishized, that it eats away at any originality in your personality and demeanor and leaves you shallow. On top of that, it becomes all you care about, and the craft takes a back seat to the hype. So, even if he's now a multi-millionaire, he still finds time to do passion projects on the side. After all, acting isn't Cillian's job. It's his preferred art form and what he loves to do best of all. So, in between filming, even for projects as demanding as Oppenheimer, he still found time to film a movie adaptation called All the Small Things. You won't be surprised to find out it's based on Irish history and is a small-scale production compared to Cillian's main projects. Even when he was filming for Peaky Blinders and helping manage it behind the scenes as executive producer, Cillian somehow managed to find the time to do several Broadway runs. They were all short, but he bagged a good deal of attention for his roles, no matter how small they were. Hell, he was even happy to take background roles or minor parts in big flicks. He thought he'd enjoy watching himself. In Dunkirk, for example, he's only on screen for a couple of minutes, playing a soldier who is paralyzed with shell shock and hardly able to speak. Even so, these minor characters become big parts of Cillian. He makes sure he's as unrecognizable as possible in each new role. His goal is to become a chameleon. His favorite kinds of actors, he says, are the ones you can't recognize outside their roles. And he also claims these smaller projects act as a palate cleanser because they're a distraction from all the flashiness, the big sets, the huge scale of production, and the ultimate end goal of making money. All of which are so tightly tied to making a movie on the Hollywood box office hit level. So, whether he's filming Oppenheimer or an obscure stage show you've never heard of, he takes them both on with equal passion and intensity. Because again, Cillian says the real danger of being a celebrity is losing sight of why you took on the arts to begin with. In a way, he says he never stopped being his 18-year-old self, who walked into a theater where the director was open for castings and offered himself up for the main role, knowing there was a huge chance he would be rejected. Because even though he's unconventionally handsome, he had no experience at the time. But he got the role. He was the lead of Enda Walsh's play Disco Pigs, which became hella popular in Ireland and was critically acclaimed too. And Cillian totally played a huge role in its success because, as always, he was acting his heart out. So yes, Murphy has a complicated relationship with fame, his own passion for the arts, and his ways of working around them. Cillian's far from ungrateful for the level of success he's achieved. He just always holds it at arm's length, fearing it will go to his head. He says that much exposure and time spent being an object of entertainment takes away from any and all human interaction. Eventually, fame eats away at you, turning you into a shell of a person, which is something he never wants to be. Murphy just wants to do what he loves on his own terms and working out of a desire to connect with his art form, not because he wants to make more money. The way Hollywood has been these past few decades, a character like Cillian's is definitely a rare sight. Social climbers, clout chasers, and desperate A-list wannabes are everywhere. And now, more than ever in this era of Instagram and Twitter, constant exposure is one of the most essential parts of being a successful star. You would be genuinely hard-pressed to find an actor these days who gets on set for the sake of being there, for the thrill of being a different person. But in Cillian Murphy, fans can find the kind of actor that old Hollywood used to be full of. So, from keeping up his love for acting as an art form to getting away from the dehumanizing feelings of being a star, that was how Cillian Murphy revealed a rise in fame can ruin people.